welcome to the Honest podcast. When we get into all the nuts and bolts of Ayr United Football Club, we sort of dig in behind the scenes with some great stuff, Niall, already, haven't we? Because we've had Davy Smith talking about his passion for the club, his plans for the club. We've had Anton talking about his nightmare injury situation. In the last one, we had some really interesting chat, didn't we, with Mikey Devlin and Curtis Main about sort of mental health, and how sort of physical injuries get into your head and all that sort of stuff. It was really good, wasn't it?
That was brilliant. It was quite a really interesting chat. Even off camera at the end after the podcast, we had a really interesting chat about it. We hadn't spoke about that before, but it was good to go down that route, and it was, like you said, really interesting. Yeah,
so no pressure on you two in terms of coming up with some interesting chat. But we've got two Ayr United fans in the room with us today. I should say before we get going, we're in the boardroom. We're in the Ayr United. We're privileged. I'm not sure how we got permission to get in here, but we got in anyway. And we've got Martin Tocker, who is the commercial manager with the football club, and we've got kitman George Robertson, part of the dynamic duo. George and Willie are legendary in these parts. You can badmouth him because he's not here, George, so that's okay. But yeah, two fans who've now got significant roles within the football club. Martin, how did it happen for you?
Quite a funny story actually, because it was during kind of COVID lockdown. My wife and I were both working from home, both went out a walk every lunchtime, and my wife loves her job and I didn't particularly like my job.
What was your job?
I was business development for a kind of an energy company, right. In Dundonald. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with the job. I worked with some great people, but it just didn't really interest me that much. So on one of the long walks, we talked about, well, what would you like to do? What would your dream job be? And I said, something like the commercial manager at Ayr United, that would be brilliant. And then I think 2 days later, my predecessor announced that he was leaving. So I thought, oh well, I better put my CV in for that one, and I was lucky enough to come through the process and get the job.
Did that feel like fate?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I didn't ever think, when I said it that day, I didn't think it would actually be possible. I thought the person that was here before would be here for a long time, and it was just, I didn't know if I had the actual qualifications to be able to do it, but I felt like I would do a good job if I got the chance, but it's all about getting that chance, isn't it? So,
George, what about you?
Well, started off, I was on a bus one day, we were going up to Brecon to play, and I was just retiring from my job. And
which was retail?
Retail, yeah. I worked with Asda and Walmart for 32 years as a store manager and a regional trainee. And what happened was I was retiring from my job, and Lewis was on the bus and he said, do you fancy giving us a wee hand in the shop? Because I had retail experience, because the last commercial manager had no retail experience on that side. So just went in there, just doing like 1 day a week to start with, then that progressed to 2, 3, 4, 5. But my first job in the shop was getting the team sheets ready on a Saturday to give to the press. So I was in for like 2 hours on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. And then just volunteered for there on in and just stayed in the role. Then worked along with Jan in there, and everything went really, really smoothly. And then transferring from the old porta cabin we had in there, then, taking it across into the shop. Fantastic in there, and that's how I started off within the club. But moving on to like the kit man side, the previous kit man who was here at the time was maybe ready to move on, and Graham Matthew came to one day and said, shop's running well now, you're looking for something else to do. I thought it was on top of the shop as well, and he said, how would you fancy being the kit man? I didn't need to think for 2 seconds. Without asking, I said, yeah, no problem. He's trying to negotiate a contract to move across, but I thought, no, it's my life, and I don't need to work, so I'll just do it voluntary for you. You could just invest that money into the squad. So that's how I started off as a kit man.
Fantastic. We'll get in about what the job entails and all the rest of it. But the other big connection between you two, and we're recording this on Thursday, the 1st of May, it should be said. Last Sunday, you two were a big part of Play on the Park. Martin, how was that?
It's one of the most enjoyable times every year when we do that event. So that was the 4th one we've done, I think. It's great fun, and fans will put in some money, which helps the club. And I think we put on a good day for them. They get into changing rooms, they get a kit with their name and number on it. They get to play with they got to play with Scott Brown, Stephen Whittaker, and they get the full match team sheet and the PA announcements, and it's on YouTube and it's getting commentated on. It's a great atmosphere. and unfortunately this year they also got to play against some of us staff. But yeah, we didn't acquit ourselves quite as well as we previously did.
No. George, I think you did some of your best work on the Sunday night. From what I've heard. But how was the actual? We probably can't speak about that. But how was the game itself?
Game itself was good to watch because, you know, out of the 80 minutes I lasted 15, which I thought I'd done really well to last that 15 because it's
was that quality 15?
I was saying no because I actually watched back in Facebook about it, and I got a comment from Gary over there, which was very complimentary, saying that just looking there at George Robertson on the pitch, the pace of him, you can see actually it's walking football George plays, and I think I'm even struggling to see if he's going at walking pace at this moment in time.
That's got to get the cameras.
Yeah, then finished off by saying, you know, walking football a game for old men.
Yeah. Well, but dodgy.
No, it's hard.
Yeah,
After the late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, it was quite hard. You know, that 15 minutes, because when you're trying to follow two balls at the same time, it's no easy.
Wow, no, exactly. Gary's not operating from a strong position, it would have to be said, in terms of criticising anybody else. Niall, fire in.
As well, we've heard that you play for the fans team as well. We've also heard that you're a bit of a player. Can you confirm?
Definitely not. Definitely not a bit of a player. I think. It probably stood out a little bit on Sunday that I was maybe a little bit fitter and faster than some of the people. But I mean, if you were to ask the teammates on a Saturday, they would tell you different. I'm in the older generation for that team. But yeah, I mean, I just enjoy playing. I've never been that good, to be honest. But I've always kept myself fit, and I've always been quite fast. So it covers a multitude of sins. But I just love playing football. I could play it every day of the week if I could, if my body would let me.
Hey George, I must ask you, so you've touched on there about being the kit man. See it being the kit man of the club you support, do you take any pride from it, or do you just see it as another job?
No, I don't see it as another job. I see it as a job that I'd like to have done all my life. You know, working with guys that I adored and we'd pay to watch them this, go and watch them on a Saturday, and just working with them. I think it's an honour to be the kit man more than a job. I don't see it as a job. I just see it as enjoying myself for 5-6 hours a day.
I got a chat with you and Willie a wee while ago and tried desperately to get you to badmouth some of the players. I was trying to find out who was the real pain in the arse in the dressing room, but what I got back from you was a very positive response about what the players here are like, George.
They are. It's a great dressing room. The mixture of young guys' experience. It's just, this year, I'd say it is really good. You've got the guys in there who keeps everybody level-headed. You've got the guys who lifts everyone up. You've got the guys who, if somebody lifts themselves up too much, shoots them back down again. To keep it like that, and it really is fantastic. The dressing room, you just enjoy being in there with the guys.
I got a good stat from you the other day about how much water the players go through.
Yeah, the players go through 30 cases of water a week. And out there, 30 cases of water, you'd be lucky if they drink 10 cases of it. Because once somebody's took a sip out of a bottle, nobody else can touch it, so it just gets binned.
That sounds a bit like your consumption last Saturday night, but it wasn't water, and we're probably not going to go into that in case you take a legal action against me.
Nothing left in any of the bottles, I can assure you.
What you got now?
So obviously the new kit dropped last week. Do you like it, first of all?
Yes.
So obviously they wore it last week before the end of the season. Was that your decision, or do you just get told, look, we're wearing next season's kit?
No, I think it's a combined decision between Graham and Martin, because to drive the sales, you get your strip out there first. I think we're the first team to get our strip out again this season. We've done it a couple of seasons going. You're going on holiday shortly. Guys want to go on holiday with the new kit on, not just the top. The warm-up tops as well. The tracky tops. The sales, Martin will tell you the sales, but I was talking to wee Robert the day in the shop, and he was saying the sales are tremendous on the new kit already. So that's money that's going to go in the kitty, and it means you can sign up players a bit early, and you've got the money behind you, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. I just can't believe that nobody else is doing it.
I was watching a wee video during the week there, and they were talking to the Partick Thistle kit man, right? And he said that a certain player, Aidan Fitzpatrick, I think it was, says that he helps him out and always folds his kit up nicely for the kit man to put away. Is there anybody like that in that dressing room in the air here?
I would say tidiest players in there would be Frankie Masonda and George Stanger. everything you get from them. I know when they take the jackets through and the quarter zips, I know out of two that's either Frankie's or George, because they're the only people that pull the zips up all the time and they make sure everything is perfect. But then you've got people on the other side. You know, good job the guys out in loan, because you only get his mess 1 day a week, potentially 2 weeks. So Fraser Bryden is a nightmare. Every single thing you get from Fraser is outside in, always. You know, and there's a fine for it. So if that was me, I would just fix it rather than paying a fine all the time. But Fraser being Fraser just does it all the time. So I have to say he was the messiest.
I'm glad you finally named a name. Martin, how would you describe the progress in the club commercially from, say, a couple of years ago to now? I mean, looking at the club is hugely ambitious. It's making massive steps forward off the pitch, on the pitch. But there is a bottom line, isn't there? There's the financial aspect, you know, is massive. So how is the club progressing in that regard?
Very, very well. I mean, so I joined in December 21, and albeit that was kind of halfway through the second sort of COVID affected season, so we had no hospitality, but the commercial target that year was £140,000. So, you know, we've had periods of not having hospitality because we built a new stand, etc. But, you know, fast forward to this year, the target was 540,000, which we've beaten, and we're still adding to it. Right. So it's a huge leap. You know, at the time when I joined, we were talking about clubs like Arbroath, who were turning over 4 times as much as us on commercial revenue. And I think if you were to ask MD in Scotland who was a bigger team, Ayr or Arbroath, and albeit Arbroath have had some exceptional seasons, but everybody would have said Ayr United, I think. But the numbers weren't backing that up. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to say now that, you know, we're you know, there's still lots more to do, but we're in the right sort of a track now, I think.
Yeah, moving in the right direction, definitely.
You touched on there a wee bit about how with the money and that we're still expecting a wee bit more, so that leads me into what are you expecting from the playoffs in terms of numbers for hospitality? Do you think it will continue to sell out?
I hope so. I think the way that the playoff schedule works, it doesn't really lend itself particularly well for hospitality, because you've got, for example, we're playing next Friday night, you know, we've got over 100 booked in, so I'm hoping that will sell out maybe once the opposition are confirmed. But then your next home game's a Tuesday, so you've got 3-4 days to get the place filled out. So we probably won't fill that out. Listen, we'll give it our best shot. We'll hopefully at least fill the boxes out. You know, we're going to advertise something at the start of next week to see if we can get a kind of wee head start. Albeit you're advertising that and you might not have a game. I would like to think that in the case of if we were to, you know, go all the way and get to a final, that would take care of itself. People would surely want to come along. But then again, it is a Thursday night, so, you know, the days of the week and how quickly the dates come, they're probably not very helpful. But I mean, we're at the stage of the season where, you know, we've had our targets, we've had our budgets, you know, we've done very well. So these games are almost a bonus. I guess it's more important that the team progress rather than the financials at this stage.
That's taking our conversation into the playoffs. George, how are you feeling about? Again, we're recording this on Thursday, so Airdrie game tomorrow night, and then Tuesday, Friday next week, the playoffs against either Wraith or Partick. But I mean, it's kind of all about how Ayr play. Can the team recapture some of their best form? Because it's not been a great spell up in the last 8 games, has it?
No, the last 8 games, you know, some results we've been unlucky with, but, you know, for the playoffs, you know, I think Murph spoke about it the other day. They're saying it's just totally different. Like, you can forget about what's happened in the last 5, 6, 7 weeks. It's what they do over these 2 games. So, you know, players are going to lift themselves. It's as if they're going to, you know, cup quarter final, cup semi final, cup final. So that'll lift the players, you know, tremendously. And I think you can forget about what's happened up to now. We're working towards this now. You saw last week players getting times in their legs. It'll be the same tomorrow night. But, you know, come Tuesday, we'll have the strongest team possibly out there then, and Friday, you know. Am I confident? Yeah, I think we'll definitely win, whether it's Wraith or Partick. I'm confident of getting through to the next round next week, and, you know, just take who we get there, you know. I'd rather it was Falkirk because we've got a much better record against them, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow night. But forget about the performance happened in the past. It's what happens next week that matters, and I think we are ready for it. Listen to the guys in the dressing room, the way the gaffer and Wits and that's going on. The guys are up for it.
Has it already been a successful season, Martin, whatever happens in these playoff games?
I think so. I mean, I've been coming here since the sort of mid-90s, and this season would need to rank in the top 5 easily, very, very easily. I guess that perception out there when you hit the top of that table and then you don't maintain it, that perception feeds into the fans and everybody thinks perhaps a little bit negatively. But I think if you were to take a wider lens on the season as a whole, then it's absolutely a positive season. And finishing third, I mean, I don't know what you think, but finishing third in the championship, you get a wee sense for some of our fans that that's disappointing. Like compared to what we've been in the last 30 years, and I don't see that as disappointing at all. Not at all.
No, I agree with you, because if you look at it, we're finishing third, which is a really good position. You look at the teams in the championship who started the season were thinking they'd be better than us. You thought Wraith Rovers would be above us, Partick Thistle, you had Falkirk, you had Livingston, so we're putting here at number 5. We've got to number 3. We could have been very close to being to number 2. And it isn't it? It's a season, and people forget. We had a really good start, then we dipped a bit, then we came good again, then we've dipped a bit. But you finished in third place in the league because over the full season you deserve to be third.
Yeah.
So that's the thing there. It is a very successful season. If anybody said to us at the start of the season when you saw Partick, as I say, Partick, Falkirk, Wraith and Livingston say you're going to finish third, you say I'd be delighted with that.
In third
comfortably
place,
third.
Third place with 2 games to spare.
Yeah.
I mean, I can scarcely remember a time where you go into the last game of the season with nothing to play for. Albeit whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, there've been a few last day escapes recently, so no, I think it's definitely been overall a good season.
How will you two be feeling across those 2 games? I mean, you've got your jobs to do, but you're also big fans.
Yeah, I'm not great at watching football at the best of times, but Scotland are United, I'm not fun to be around for. The tension takes over a little bit, but more so when we're playing here as well, I think. But I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting games to be part of, and for us to be sort of a wee peek behind the curtain as fans. But I'm just looking forward to full-time whistle already.
And it is quite difficult because doing the job of doing the kit man, it's quite hard to show your emotions during the game. If you're on a fan and you're behind the wall, you can get really, really up for it and that. But when you're doing the job, you're concentrating a lot on the players. Rather than watching the game, you're just watching individuals, and you're making sure the subs are okay, and you're making sure that you're getting substitutions right, and the team's getting everything they need. It's a bit different, so it takes a bit of pressure off, I think, for me. Like, if I was behind the wall on Tuesday and Friday, I'm a totally different person than what I'm going to be on Tuesday and Friday. But don't worry, I'll definitely celebrate it when we win. Yeah.
Are you a part-time psychologist with the players? Do the players confide in you? Do they say stuff to you? And do you kind of work with them and they say stuff that they would never say to Scott and Stephen?
No, but what they do is whatever said in the dressing room, even though I'm in there and Willie and that's in there, we can't say to the gaffer what the players are saying, because that's just not right. So we'd never go to the gaffer and say, oh, such and such is a bit worried about this, or a bit concerned about that. Then, we don't do that. We don't take anything to the gaffer from the dressing room. Apart from the other day, one of the players actually asked if he could borrow the gaffer's hairdryer. That's the only time I went to. That's the only time I went past a message on to the gaffer for one of the players.
Are you able to reveal who that player was, or do I embarrass?
No, but I think it'd be quite easy to guess who it was.
Does he believe he's got the best hair in the dressing room? Would that be the one?
Yeah, and I think he's trying to copy somebody else as well. So that maybe.
Well, there you go. Scott Brown's got a hairdryer, but he doesn't use it in his half-time team talker.
No, not what he says in there stays in there, but everything's positive.
Yeah. So the next kind of question is for the both of you. I'll come to you, George, first, Martin. Give you a wee bit of extra time to figure out. So if people follow this man on Twitter, they'll know that you love a Scotland away trip. I must ask you, what's been your most memorable out of all of them?
Anybody who went to Paris for James McFadden's goal, if they don't say that's their best Scotland experience, then they've never lived. just everything about the day, meeting the Eiffel Tower, you know, the marks of stadium, closing off the motorways and closing off all the roads for the fans to walk. There must have been 15,000 folk in that march. And as you're walking there, you know, the French folk were giving you bottles of beer, bottles of wine, sandwiches and all that on the way down, and the big double-decker boogie bus was there, you know, on the way down. You know, they should have planned it better though, because with about a mile to go there was a bridge and the double-decker bus couldn't get under it. So we just marched through there. Then the goal, when they scored that goal, it's as if like 75% of the crowd jumped up, you know, to celebrate it. There was that many Scottish fans in there. Then after the game, you know, you still couldn't believe it. You could not believe that they'd won 1-0. And the goal, especially when the goalkeeper just started, it's not going to go in, and just kind of waved at the ball as it flew over his head into the top corner. That, and I say Kazakhstan, I would say was a great trip as well. Football wasn't very great, but as a trip, Kazakhstan was just somewhere that you'd never pick to go on a holiday or anything like that. But there, the country was just so cheap, and it was really good.
Got one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to compete with George. I mean, I like to try and go away at least once a year, but for an away game. But George goes to pretty much every single one. But I was lucky enough to be at France '98. I think I was 16. I was at Euro '96 as well. So those are really special memories for me, going there with my dad. And I think just because of going to every single home game and going to the odd away trip, just making that next championship for Euro 2020, that was really special, and going down to Wembley, albeit COVID interfered with that, but that was really special going to that. And then last year's Euros was great. Munich, that day in Munich, a couple of days in Munich was fantastic. Unfortunately, football but got in the way near the end. But it was just a great experience to be part of. I think when you're away with Scotland, it's just, and you just meet everybody that supports different teams, and then you just, your conversations lead you on to, you know, you end up talking about League One games 6-7 years ago to some random guy after 8 pints. But it's good.
The worst part of Scotland trips are 90 minutes. You know, everything goes great. Then you've got your son and watch it for 90 minutes, and you know, occasionally you get the result that you want, but not as often as you'd like. That's
the thing. Like, you know, that James McFadden goal, I wasn't there, but you know, that's like etched in every Scotland fan's memory. I think one of the tables at my wedding was named after James McFadden, pretty much because of that goal. But it's great now that we've actually got a team that qualify for things. So we'll have, again, we're comparing eras, but we're probably in a decent era for Scotland.
And just rounding things off, Martin, coming back to club matters, I mean, George was touching there on how this could be the next few weeks. This could be something special. Are you daring to dream?
Yes and no. I'm trying not to get too carried away. Even, you know, as a fan, I never really tended to get too carried away, because football's got a good way of putting egg on your face.
Biting you in the arse.
Yeah.
Aye, that's it. But likewise, I'm not, like, I don't like to be negative either, so I kind of like to just play it straight. Let's see what happens. I think it would be amazing if we were to be in the Premier League, the Premiership. Like, that would be, you know, we're talking about Scotland games there and getting to go to the major tournaments and then having such a big gap. You know, this would be right up there with that sort of thing. It would just be fantastic, and especially to be part of it.
Despite the headaches it would give you as commercial manager.
Well, yeah, it would be a few headaches, and then I'm starting to think, I've already started thinking about, you know, what if we're quite spoiled here. You're a Saturday afternoon at 3, or you're maybe a Friday night at 7:45, whereas if you go up a tier, then you could be Sundays, you could be Saturday afternoons, and the headache for the hospitality, that's for sure.
Last question for you, do you own a pair of trousers?
Well, hey, good question.
I do. If you see me at a wedding or a funeral, will I have trousers on? 90% of the time, no. Like they wearing the shorts at the game every single, no matter summer or winter.
Is that a superstition now?
No, I'll tell you what, we played at Partick Thistle one night and it was absolutely Baltic. And I forgot my tracky bottoms. I always wore tracky bottoms. And Tommy Tate, one of the coaches, said to me at full time, he goes, absolutely Baltic out there, and you've got a pair of shorts on. And I said, I know. And he said, See if I ever see you at a broth on a cold Tuesday night with a pair of trousers on, you're showing a sign of weakness. So as long as Tommy Tate's here, I'll be wearing shorts. So I can't wait till he leaves so I can put trousers on.
That was a great question and a great answer. George, thank you. Martin, thanks as well. This has been podcast number 4, the Honest podcast, of course. If you're listening to it, there is a video version and vice versa as well. We will talk to you soon.